I've been the best ever since day one when I walked into this company, and I've been vilified and hated since that day because Paul Heyman saw something in me that nobody else wanted to admit. That's right, I'm a Paul Heyman guy.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. As many of you know here, I am friends with Jimmy from Quirks. He's a younger reader. He's a YouTuber. He does a lot of really good interviews, and he really loves modern comics, a lot more than I do. Like, he thinks Jason Aaron and Brian Michael Bendis are the tits still. I don't exactly agree with him, but we like having him on the channel. He provides a change of pace, a different perspective on the comic book industry and what comic books he likes. So I like having that outside voice. And Jimmy's he's a fun guy. I call him personally the comic book teddy bear for a reason, because he's nice, he's cuddly, he's a warm hug when you need one in comic books. Because this can get frustrating. It's nice to have somebody like Jimmy around because he's such a positive guy. Now, he does get frustrated. Obviously, he does get frustrated. He is a human being. When he's not being the comic book teddy bear, maybe he's the comic book grizzly bear because he does freak out every once in a while. But for the most part, he keeps a very positive outlook. And when you have that type of temperament and you try to be nice and friends with everybody, that is, unfortunately, some people are going to use that against you. And that has essentially been the case this past week, where he found out that he was blocked by Dan Slott. This happens a lot. They call him Slotto Blocktavius. I believe he calls himself that, actually, for a reason. If you go to the Doug Ernst blog, or you go to his YouTube channel, he's certainly covered in depth the damage that Dan Slott has done within the comic book industry, just with the way that he interacted with customers while he was the writer of Spider-Man, the second biggest, flagship character in all of comic books. Terrible ambassador for the entire industry, just by the way he treats people and the way he holds himself. He literally thinks he's above everybody because he wrote Spider-Man once. Whatever, dude. If we had a beer and we decided to, I don't know, talk about accomplishments, I will hold mine up with writing Spider-Man any day of the week. But this is not about me. And so Jimmy was a little bit upset that he was blocked, and I don't blame him. Like I said, he's very friendly. He's always supporting books by creators I personally don't like, and Dan Slott would be one of them. And that's fine. I love having people in here with dissenting points of views and that like comic books that I don't particularly enjoy. It's good to have those perspectives in there. But he was upset about Dan Slott blocking him, and I guess it was picked up by, I think it was Bounding Into Comics. They did an article about it, and maybe I think maybe he retweeted it or something on his timeline. So that article, or maybe there was a couple articles, ended up on Jimmy from Quirks Twitter timeline, which shouldn't mean anything because Dan Slott blocked him anyway. It's not like you can see it, right? And I guess, well, let's just say, I don't think that Jimmy from Quirks is going to be a fan of Dan Slott anymore after the way that he was treated, bullied, and quite frankly manipulated into doing what Dan Slott wanted him to do. We're going to cover it right here. Jimmy, released out the screen caps of what happened while he was discussing these things with Dan Slott. And this is absolute bullshit. This is manipulation 101. And this is all about Dan asserting control over Jimmy. Unfortunately, Jimmy's a younger man. He was far too trusting in this encounter, didn't realize what was happening to him, that he was being manipulated, that Dan Slott was trying to assert control over him, and unfortunately he gave it to him. And we'll get into those things. And this is the first, beginning, as far as I know, of their DMing back and forth. And Jimmy says, "It's done and over with." And Dan Slott, "Oh, for fuck's sake, why is that first and third post on your feed? Why?" Well, because it's his Twitter feed. He can put whatever he wants on there. It's not Dan Slott's Twitter feed. But apparently Dan Slott has an issue with it. Jimmy replied, "He asked me to talk about the article. I stuck up for you and said you were actually a good guy. I really did. You can watch it." He's speaking about a live stream that he did with Engletine. And the 3 posts is me saying, "Oh boy," because it's the shitty website. Damn, Dan, I'm not an asshole, man. Say, hey, I didn't ask for this to be put up. Engletine asked me to come on, and I talked about it. And this is Dan's reply. Engletine is a comicsgate guy. Ooh, those evil comicsgate guys, those comic fans that like to spend money on comic books. They're evil. The whole reason I originally said I was blocking you was because you were following comicsgate people. See right there? Trying to assert control over Jimmy from Comics Quirk on who he can actually follow. Who the hell is it to Dan Slott who Jimmy from Comics Quirk follows? He can follow whoever he wants. Maybe he wants to say what people at Comicsgate are saying. Maybe he doesn't even realize those people are associated with Comicsgate. Who gives a fuck? It's none of Dan Slott's business. He continues. And you were like, I didn't know that. And you're giving them a boost on your site and getting their word out there. Well, I think he's giving himself a boost. They were talking about him. It was his interview. Of course, Jimmy's going to want to get the word out that he was on Engletine. He's got a lot more subscribers than Jimmy. I think Jimmy will catch up eventually because he's a really good YouTuber. But, he wants to get the word out. Let people know that he's out there talking about comics. And I don't think that he had to ask Dan Slott's permission, but Dan Slott does not believe that. Let's continue on in the interaction here. I even came on here to tell you about it. So he said, hey, I'm trying to be an honest broker here and tell you exactly what happened. Since you're so upset, I will tell you how these things all went down and be honest with you. And Dan wants none of it. Comicsgate is a hate group. This isn't a both sides things. This is a group that came into existence by harassing LGBTQ members, POC, and women working in comics. I can link you to dozens of mainstream press articles breaking this all down. No matter what BS comic gators like to spin, they're a hate group. They have a member on their live stream who's associated with the Proud Boys. This isn't rocket science, man. What's the Comics Gator live stream with a Proud Boy? And what does that have to do with Jimmy? Jimmy's not Comicsgate. He's never said he was Comicsgate. He probably doesn't know that there's a Proud Boy person that's associated with the Comicsgate official live stream that I personally didn't even know existed. I certainly didn't know there was a Proud Boy in there. And even if there is, what the hell's that got to do with Jimmy? And this idea that Comicsgate came into existence by harassing LGBTQ plus members, POC, and women working comics. That's absolute falsehood. Comicsgate came into existence because there was a group of fans that were fed up with all the woke culture stuff being forced down their throats within the product that they were paying top dollar to pay for. They started talking about this, had a little community going on. It was a no-name community. It was just people talking about Comicsgate or comics books. And then all of a sudden, because you had people, when you have groups of people, you start having power, right? You have a little bit of sway. Maybe if they all decide to do this or that, you can do a little thing, a thing or two that gets you noticed. So this group gets together, and you can't have that. So Dan Slott, Kelly Sudikotic, and others, your Heather Ontoses, decided they needed a pejorative to describe these people and slander them, and essentially, I would say, shame them out of existence. You can't be meeting together. It's illegal. You guys are comics gators. You throw the gate name on the end of anything to make it sound like it's the worst thing that's ever happened. And that's how they came into existence. Dipshits like Dan Slott and Brian Michael Bendis and Kelly Sudikotic and Heather Ontos willed Comicsgate into existence. There would be no Comicsgate if it wasn't for them. And there certainly wouldn't be the name without them trying to find a pejorative to describe them and try to shame them from congregating and talking to each other. I hate to break it to Dan Slott, Kelly Sudikotic, Heather Ontos, and everyone else out there that likes to bitch about Comicsgate, Gail Simone, all those people. Richard Meyer and his Diversity in Comics YouTube channel exists because of you. It blew up because of you and your actions. It was a direct reaction to you and the way you were treating people. You said, don't support my comics books. You said these people are bad. Ethan Van Sciver and his Comics Artist Pro Secret YouTube channel exists because of you in the state that it is. It was there before. He was just drawing and talking about comic books. That's all he was doing on his channel. And then everyone decided they needed to bag on him because it became known that he and Richard were friends. So they started calling him a Nazi for a year. And when none of his friends or colleagues, or even his employer would stand up for him, they pushed him too far. And finally he retaliated. And then everybody's a victim, right? These people, Dan Slott included, have no one in this world to blame for the existence of comicsgate other than themselves. Have people in comicsgate gone too far? Absolutely, I think so. Am I associated with comicsgate? Not really. I'm not into the drama. It's not my thing. I want to be responsible for my own actions and my own words. But if people want to get together and use a hashtag and talk about comics that they like or support projects that they want to, by all means, do it. I literally gave 20 years of my life serving the United States of America so people would have the freedom to go out there and use a hashtag and support whatever fucking comic book that they wanted to. Whatever. But these guys can't get over it. And because Jimmy follows somebody that's associated with Comicsgate, now all of a sudden he's associated with the Proud Boys. How the fuck do you even come up with this stuff? The mental gymnastics of someone as stupid as fucking Dan Slott. It's all on display here. Bullying Jimmy, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet in comics book YouTube, taking advantage of his very nice and generous nature. At this point, Jimmy should have told him to go fuck yourself. But Jimmy's too nice for that. He tries this shit with me, and he's going to go, it's not going to go so nice. Unfortunately, and listen, we need people like Jimmy, right? We need nice people that aren't, continuously telling dickheads to go fuck themselves all the time. You need somebody to be out there to at least bridge the gap and be like, listen, I will listen to your bullshit for a while before I've had it up. Unfortunately, he listened to it for too long, in my opinion. Obviously, Jimmy is a grown man and he can do what he wants. But this is bullcrap. This is bullying and this is manipulation. You'll see the manipulation by the time we get to the end. And this is what he says. You don't balance that out by following Chip Zdarsky and John Sinutris. This isn't some kind of algebra equation where it somehow makes it okay to reach out and have conversations with members of a full-on hate group. I don't know how to explain it any simpler than that. Well, it's not a full-on hate group. I don't know how to explain it any more full than that. But Jimmy following people on both sides of the aisle, I would say that indicates that he's comfortably right in the middle, where a lot of people are. Don't see anything wrong with Comicsgate. Don't see anything wrong with Dan Slott. Don't see anything wrong with these other creators. They can do what they want. Comicsgate can do what they want. And I'll read the comic books I want. And I think that's where a lot of comic book fans are. And this is how Dan Slott would treat you. There's no even indications that Jimmy associates with people from Comicsgate. He's never been, to my knowledge, on one of their live streams. And if he was, I would say more power to him. But you don't see Jimmy out there, palling around with all these guys. I think he just follows people that talk about comic books. Shocker, big fucking shocker. People that are in Comicsgate talk about comic books a lot. So how you can blame all this stuff on Jimmy and this stupid algebra equation? I'm not even going to give him the courtesy of calling him a writer. You're a propagandist for a reason. You're not a math instructor. Get the fuck out of here, Dan. Let me rephrase an earlier DM. Why are those still the first and third post on your feed? Showing him a screen cap, I guess, of his feed where he had some stuff about Comicsgate or whatever. I guess maybe Jimmy was inquiring about Comicsgate because he admits he didn't know much about it. The bigger question here is, Dan Slott, why are you questioning a grown man about his own social media feed? It's none of your business. Are you best friends? Are you his father? Are you his distant cousin? Are you anybody of consequence to Jimmy? To my knowledge, you're not. If you were, I imagine Jimmy would have disclosed this by now because I've actually talked to the guy. Not only on camera, but off camera. And he's one of the sweetest, nicest dudes you'll ever meet in comic book YouTube. And this is how Dan Slott treats. I don't want to go, whatever. You can think what you want about Dan Slott. But he's here telling him what he's allowed to do on social media, what he's allowed to post. And this is the comic book industry for you. Dan Slott if he had his druthers, you wouldn't be able to post anything without his permission. Unless you were a comic skater, that would prove you were a Nazi. Even though, these dickheads literally cannot fathom. It can't even cross their mind their own place in the creation of comicsgate and why it exists to this day is literally a reaction to all their asshole ways. Not only their shitty writing, but the way they treat people, the way they talk down to customers. If you are a fan of Richard Meyer, you have no one in this world to thank more than Dan Slott, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Heather Ontos, and the rest of the idiot woke mob. They literally willed Richard into existence. They literally willed Ethan Van Sciver to stop, drawing comics and just talking about the stuff that he did in the past with Jeff Johns or over his time with Grant Morris on an X-Men. They literally willed him in to responding to them by being such outlandish assholes. And then here we finally get the coup de grace. We find out what Dan was looking for the whole time. The manipulation, the bullying, the reveal. It's a wrestling swerve. We finally realize what Dan Slott was looking for the whole time. Jimmy says, I'm not into that side of comics. I'm actually quite ignorant on Comicsgate, besides that they are a cult. Well, I don't think that they're a cult, Jimmy. I think you're being manipulated once again into believing this stuff. Comicsgate is just a bunch of fans that like to talk about comics that aren't really into the mainstream. And they want to use a hashtag so that they can keep track of each other and have conversations. And potentially find new comics to support. But Jimmy is a grown man. He can say that if he wants. I think if he had his druthers back, he wouldn't have said this. I think he was trying probably to make Dan Slott feel better. I'm friends with John, by the way. Had him on the channel. Once again, trying to show goodwill. Say, listen, I'm not the bad guy here. Unfortunately, he doesn't realize what's happened to him, and he's fallen right into the trap. He will say, I'm not into that crap. They were still on there because I was texting you. What do I have to do to make you believe me? Dan, I'm a fan. I really am. Please don't make me have a bad experience with you. I don't understand how you could explain anything before that as anything other than a bad experience. As I've said, Jimmy is the comic book teddy bear himself. He's the nicest motherfucker in comic book YouTube. And, he was still willing to give Dan a chance. And then he finds out what this was all about when he says, they're gone, talking about the tweets that were in his timeline. Dan says, thank you, and that's it. That's all he wanted the whole time. He wanted to manipulate Jimmy into changing his timeline and doing what Dan wanted him to do because it's about control. It wasn't about reaching out to a fan and, finding some common ground. It wasn't about reaching out to a fan or someone that supported you in the past and maybe clearing the air about what was really going on. This was about Dan Slott punching down on a smaller YouTuber, young man that wants to support the industry, wants to shout it from the rooftops how many great comic books there are. All for free. Jimmy does this from his apartment. I believe he's in an apartment. He's not getting paid for this yet. I don't believe. Giving this sounding board, telling everybody what great comics are out there, supporting Dan Slott's friends, by the way, and giving them an opportunity to talk about comic books for free, all taken out of his own time where he could be out there spending time with his friends and family because he loves comic books so much. Dan Slott could give zero fucks about any of that. He wanted to Jimmy to know, you will take that down because I'm Dan Slott. I wrote Spider-Man, and you are a peon nobody. And this is how you ruin relationship with customers. This is how you take somebody that would come onto my stream and know that he was going to get some guff, but it was always, it was in good fun. Know that he was going to get some guff. Standing up for creators that me personally, I'm not a big fan of. Maybe some other people on the channel aren't a big fan of. Going out there, going to bat for them, and just flipping them on a fucking dime with an experience like this. Once he finally realized, because Jimmy knows exactly what this was all about now. It was never about clearing the air. It wasn't about mending fences. It was about asserting control and letting Jimmy know where he was in the pecking order, letting him know that he didn't matter in the end. All that mattered was that Jimmy listened to Dan Slott and did what he was told. Well, Jimmy's not a little kid. Jimmy's not his son. He's not his nephew. He's not his cousin. He's not anybody. He's just a jaded fan that I guarantee you has some very negative feelings for Dan Slott. And I don't think in the future there's a good chance he might not be sticking up for these people that are constantly assholes to everybody, because maybe his eyes are being opened that Comicsgate isn't a cult, that it is a movement of fans that got tired of this thing. The name is a pejorative that was put on them by the very people that claim that it's proof that it's a hate group. They take no ownership in any of the things that have happened. No ownership stake in what they've caused. The direct reaction to the way that they treated fans and the way that they were writing comic books willed into existence diversity in comics. Willed Ethan Van Sciver to say, fuck this. I need to tackle these issues head on because I'm tired of being called a this and this and this, and nobody's standing up for me. Hey. And now, is Jimmy Comicsgate? I don't believe he is. Is Jimmy going to join over to the Comicsgate side? I don't think he will. But he just might now. You might have forced him over there. Isn't it weird how that works? Maybe just maybe the hate group out there really is the creators and not the fans. Just maybe.